Steve was a big man in every way. He was big physically, big smile, big shock of white hair.
In many ways was larger than life. He was a man for all seasons. He could do it all, and he did it all. You know, as a young man, he was a dynamic athlete.
He was All-American in football and basketball and All-State in baseball. Lavelle Edwards said that he was the most recruited athlete at BYU for football up to that time.
Played offense and defense. He was a running back and linebacker, and he was good at both.
After a year of football at BYU, he decided that he needed to go on a mission.
And the head coach at the time, his name's Tommy Hudspeth, told my dad, if you go on a mission, then I won't play you when you come back.
But Steve made the decision and had the faith to go ahead and serve a mission for the church.
And then came back to BYU, and Tommy Hudspeth didn't play him. And it was probably the best thing because he went on to be able to make great contributions to the community.
He kind of gave up sports and concentrated on his studies.
Met his sweetheart, and I think Provo just kind of became his second home. You know, once he was here, he never left.
But he went into business, and he went and started an insulation business. Construction was starting to really ramp up in Utah County back in the late 60s and 70s, and he was right there in the middle of that with Kodiak Construction.
And the recession hit in the 1980s, and people all around him were declaring bankruptcy. And he was determined that he would not declare bankruptcy.
And was concerned about doing the right thing in the right way. He was a man with no guile.
He was able to emerge from that without declaring bankruptcy. There was a company who was interested in buying up other companies, and he was able to sell it to them.
And after that, he ended up taking the job as being the president and CEO of the Orem Chamber of Commerce. Then they later combined the Orem Chamber with the Provo Chamber, and he became the president and CEO of the Orem Provo Chamber, or Provo Orem Chamber from Provo. And then that eventually morphed into the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce.
And then over the next 30 years, built that into probably the most successful Chamber of Commerce in the state.
Well, I know Steve really was concerned about the community. He was not only a businessman involved in the private sector and helping to be the voice for business, but he ran for office. He ran for the state legislature. He ran as the lieutenant governor one time. He ran for Congress. He really wanted to make things better, and frankly, Steve did.
You know, if my dad had a superpower, it wasn't his super strength, but the thing that really was remarkable about him was the way that he could connect with people that he didn't even know.
I think he probably had one of the largest Rolodexes in Utah. He seemed to know everybody and was on good terms with everybody.
I've always appreciated Steve's positive attitude. It's infectious.
And if I had one word to describe Steve Densley, it would be enthusiasm.
His jolly way of looking at things and his ability to help people see each other and the potential that one another have to connect and make things move forward, that's going to be missed.
You know, another thing about Steve is his passion for BYU sports. He bleeds blue.
Steve was a die-hard, lifelong Cougar fan and would go to all of the basketball games and the football games and would, as much as possible, try to take all his kids.
Probably the most important thing in Steve's life was his family.
He was fortunate enough to marry Colleen, who was every bit his equal.
She was in education, a teacher, became a principal. Colleen and his children were the light and life of his life, and that's how he conducted himself.
The great thing about Steve was he had a knack for communicating.
He even wrote a column for the Daily Herald that became quite a fixture in the local culture.
And he started a local television show. He would bring in business leaders from the community and interview them. It was called Taking Care of Business. He also had a radio show. He had 5 different radio shows over time.
One of the specific things that Steve has done is the Executive Summit up at Sundance. That's always, frankly, one of the really ultimate events of the year in terms of the business community.
Well, Steve sadly passed away a year ago on Pioneer Day here in Utah. And in my mind, Steve Densley was a tremendous business pioneer for our community.
He was a pillar of the valley. He cared about the valley. He gave most of his life to helping improve the valley. Thanks to Steve Densley, we're a better community.
We'll always remember Steve.